How's it going, everybody? Thank you for checking out my channel and welcome to today's video. Today is going to be the start of a really fun series because this is something that I've actually been working towards for the last couple of months to be able to have all the information available to make the right judgment calls when it comes to comparing the top Aura Runewords in the game. Now, when it comes to what is going to be best versus worst, that's going to be completely subjective. I want to make sure to make that very clear. This is something that I have been trying to work on and to have a list that actually accurately depicts the auras and the rune words themselves, separating multiple different things to be able to say which ones would then be the best and which ones would be the worst. We're going to be judging these rune words based upon 5 different levels of criteria, and the first one's going to be the rune cost, to see if it is actually worth the runes to be able to get the stats and the aura to be able to benefit your character. The second is going to be the flexibility within the bases that you'd be able to use to see if it would be something that is more specific to a character, can be given to a mercenary, or a combination of both. The third thing is going to be the aura itself, to see if the aura is going to be really beneficial for not only the character that you're going to be playing, the mercenary you're going to be using, or the stats on the actual rune word, which is the fourth criteria, which is going to be the stats additionally to the aura to see if they mesh well together, or if it is something that is going to be specific for using just the aura or just the stats themselves. And the last but not least criteria is going to be the builds to actually be able to use these rune words, to see if they're going to be something that is more towards a niche type of build or to something that everyone will benefit from in the exact same way. Now, as I go into depth with covering the Now, as I cover the criteria for each one of the rune words, I'm only going to be spending maybe about 2 to 3 minutes per rune word, because anything longer than that would be better suited for an individual video to talk about every aspect of the rune word itself. However, in this video, I'm going to be going over just the most important parts of each one of the rune words when it comes to comparing them to all the other rune words on this list. And along with that, I will be showing not only the stats on screen, but I will be showing the gameplay to be able to give you guys a good example as to what it looks like in action because of comments like this. Yes, I understand when it comes to comparing rune words side by side that it is ideal to be able to show some gameplay, to be able to better understand how these rune words are going to be when used by certain builds, especially when it came to my last video comparing Death and Bot D and Eth Berserker axes, that they wanted to see a lot more gameplay compared to me just talking the entire time. However, the points that I made in the video were really important to make, and I did show quite a bit of gameplay, but for this video, I'm going to make sure to have a lot more gameplay as I go over the stats, so that way you guys get a full understanding as to how these are not only going to look when it comes to using them with builds, but how they're going to be as far as being able to help with your clear speed, with your survivability, and also just how they're going to be able to benefit your character as well as your mercenary if they're able to do so. Before we get to the video, let's go ahead and do a comment shout out, which today's is going to be Lucifer, from my understanding the diminishing return of Magic Find video, saying exactly what I was looking for. Thank you, sir. With all that said, let's get into the video.
Not even death can save you from me.
Greetings, mortal. I knew you would find your way back here.
Now we have 20 runes to cover, so let's go ahead and get started with number 20. For number 20, we have everyone's go-to to pair with Gee's Grand Charm to make gambling less of a gamble if burning through millions of gold. This is the Edge Bow. This bow rune word is one you can make early on in the game, whether in later normal after farming and potentially cubing up runes found from the Countess or Lower Kurash, or in early Nightmare, as the highest rune cost is an Am rune. This rune word grants the level 15 Thorns aura when equipped, meaning that if dealt melee physical damage, then a percentage of it is returned to the attacker. However, this seems counterintuitive to what a Bowazon is supposed to be, a ranged attacker with an aura that is meant for up-close attacking. Think of Grief having knockback on it with a Zealot or a Frenzy Barb, where both builds are dealing quick in succession hits, especially Frenzy to get more of a boost with each hit, yet knocking back those that you're attacking, leaving you to have to chase them around to be able to make another successful hit. For all the Bowazon builds, this rune word is for physical damage Bowazons, such as ones using Strafe, Multi-Shot, and Guided Arrow, to make use of the 7% life stolen per hit. An Amazon-specific bow would be ideal to try to find as the base because of their additional plus to skills and potentially more base damage to make use of the varying 320 to 380% enhanced damage to demons, as well as the static 280% damage to the undead. And the 35% increased attack speed is really nice, especially early on. And now that the Act 1 mercenaries can use Amazon-specific bows, this could actually see more use in the game if made early enough in one's playthrough. However, this would be more ideal for those whom are actually melee characters that want to be able to utilize the Thorns aura to be able to give this rune word to an Act 1 mercenary so that way you benefit while fighting everyone up close, so long as the mercenary actually lives. However, realistically, this is more so used for its reduced vendor price mod, to be able to gamble items cheaper and make repairing gear worth not having to use the cube to make repairs. Unfortunately, this rune word's aura isn't the selling point, but the modifier for reducing vendor prices is why anyone really uses it, as it is one of the only 2 items in the game to do so, the other being Geed's Grand Charm. So making this Runeword in a non-Amazon specific base, preferably with as low of requirements as possible, is the best option. For these reasons, there was no additional edge given to this Runeword to be able to make it place any higher in this list, so edge sits at number 20. For number 19, when looking at the stats and what could have been speculated for this Runeword's actual use, the stats seem to have been plagued with procs that are counterproductive to what could make this Runeword much more helpful and desired to use. I'm talking, of course, about Plague. One of the few new Runewords costing a Cham as its most costly rune, being able to be rolled in claws, daggers, and swords. From my guess, this Runeword was meant to be an intermediate between getting Infinity or Death's Web, depending on the intended use with your build. Rolling a varying +1 to 2 to all skills, varying enhanced damage roll of 220 to 320%, 20% increased attack speed, deadly strike based on character level, and 25% chance of open wounds, which is great for endgame melee use, especially against the Ubers. Where this Runeword seems to have its priorities backwards is with a major focus on poison with 2 chances to cast procs. The first being 25% chance of level 15 Poison Nova on striking, and 20% chance of level 12 lower resist when struck. Poison Nova is more of a style points and a cool looking visual. Even with the negative 23% to enemy poison resistance, that proc wouldn't be able to do enough without it literally non-stop going off. But the 20% chance to cast lower resistance when struck is where this Runeword feels like a missed opportunity, because of the 2 procs, that skill should be getting casted when striking, not while waiting to be struck for it to proc, as you shouldn't have to rely on taking damage to then lower an enemy's resistance. Nobody would care for whomever they're fighting to now have low resistances if they end up dying for it to go off and now wouldn't be able to utilize it. If the skills were switched with low resistance being used when striking and Poison Nova being used when struck, this Runeword's use would increase greatly, as it would then be better utilized for poison builds. With this Runeword comes a level 13 to 17 Cleansing Aura when equipped, which is both great and can make some players save and exit in frustration. Cleansing helps with curse durations, so if Vale cast Decrepify on you, it would take seconds for it to come off until he casts it again, making survivability in certain areas much easier. However, it also reduces shrine effects on a character, and if someone uses a shrine that they need, unless you swap weapons, this would take away from what the shrine grants them very quickly. This would be great for players wanting claws with plus to lightning or death sentries to boost the skills more so than a Hodo Spirit combo could do if dual wielding claws, or further expanded on the base options later on, such as scepters for the paladins, potentially ones with plus to Fist of Heavens. This could then be a very useful Runeword. However, even with the Cleansing Aura when equipped, it can't be saved with the backwards procs for Poison Nova and lower resistance. Unfortunately for this Runeword, being that it was once considered to be in the game but never saw the light of day, now being introduced over 20 years later, and in that time having what could have been very helpful chance to cast procs to be very backwards thinking, now taking a step into the game to only take 10 steps back. Aside from also having a high cost with a low yield everywhere else, to make up for the remainder of this Runeword, Plague sits at the number 19 spot. At the 18th spot on this list, this bow Runeword is relatively cheap for how helpful it can be for players who want a little extra pep in their step for their bows on build, or any other build wanting to be able to farm Piddleskin very quickly, with the Ko rune being the most expensive of the 4, and the rest of the runes being farmed quite easily from normal and Nightmare Countess, or during a regular playthrough of normal and Nightmare difficulty. When it comes to Harmony stats, when looking over the additional damage that is added, at first glance it seems like a Runeword that would be able to add quite a bit to your overall damage. However, with the enhanced damage being between 200 and 275%, plus 9 to both minimum and maximum damage, adding between 55 and 160 damage to fire, lightning, and cold damage, also meaning that this Runeword would be more likely to be made in Nightmare difficulty. Even with the Amazon specific bow, the additional and enhanced damage wouldn't be enough to be able to make this bow Runeword ideal unless you have not found or rolled anything better. However, with the varying plus 2 to 6 to Valkyrie, regenerate mana 20%, and if wanting extra meat shields, the level 20 revives can come in handy. To get this bow to an Act 1 mercenary, and using the mercenary bow to be able to have them not be targeted by enemies would be ideal use for not using this on your character, as they would be able to give you the level 10 Vigor Aura to be able to run faster, especially if you're wanting to speed run past specific parts of the game that may be difficult for your character to handle at the moment. Most players use this on Switch when it comes to running Piddleskin, as the Vigor Aura would allow them to be able to run from the top of the stairs in Haragoth to the red portal very quickly. Other than that, this Runeword is seldom used and is kept in the Grail. Is this helpful for characters who want to be able to clear distance faster? Yes. But is it needed? No. It is an item that's nice to have, but is not required to be able to enjoy the game, as you can find other means of getting around, including normal walking and running at the very least. All of these reasons are why Harmony takes the number 18 spot on this list. Bramble is quite the expensive Runeword, and unfortunately is used more so in a few niche builds to make the cost of it not worth rolling for many players. With this Runeword costing 2 high runes, being Ohm and Sir, this body armor Runeword is centered around poison builds, more particularly either melee or support ones, having 50% faster hit recovery, varying 25 through 50% to poison skill damage, plus 300 to defense to be able to make the base options a lot more open. Boost to mana, both in increasing its maximum amount and regeneration, plus 5 to max cold resistance, plus 30 to fire res, poison resist greatly boosted by 100%, and 13 to life after each kill. This seems like a great choice for those who prefer to run poison builds. Keyword run, because unless you have other means of teleporting around, you'll be trading poison damage for quick mobility. With the varying 15 through 21 Thorns aura when equipped, this encourages being hit to have the aura be effective. All the stats together would work for a Daggermancer, Rabies Druid as he has to be in melee range to affect a group of enemies, or a Skellymancer, Summon Mancer when using Amplify Damage or Iron Maiden and pairing with an Act 5 Mercenary, whom would aggro enemies over to you and your party. However, this Runeword could be considered either rolled amazingly or bricked, because of the varying Thorns aura that could be the difference on a high and low ends of around 300% damage, as well as the varying boost to poison skill damage. It's been argued that using the high runes needed for this Runeword would be wiser to use elsewhere. However, for very niche poison builds, pairing with the top tier poison items could help make a poison build more viable, as poison has been used the least of the elemental damage builds. However, again, as useful as it can be for these niche builds, it's seldom used compared to other alternatives, especially much cheaper ones. With such limited use for its cost, I couldn't place Bramble at any higher spot but number 17 on this list. Number 16 is the Runeword Doom, a Runeword that has been one of the staple choices for hybrid melee and caster characters, especially the shapeshifting or wind druid aside from being given to a mercenary. With the cost of this Runeword needing an Ohm rune, low rune, and a Cham rune, a lot of what the stats themselves lack is tried to be made up for with the level 12 Holy Freeze aura. This was a good option for shapeshifting druids as it has 5% chance to cast Volcano on striking, plus 2 to all skills, good boost to attack speed by 45%, good range of enhanced damage being between 330 to 370%, varying 40 to 60% reduction to enemy cold resistance, 20% deadly strike, and 24% chance to cast open wounds. Unfortunately, with the lack of usable variety of bases this can be rolled in, being axes, hammers, and polearms, this means less builds and mercenaries would be able to use this. Also, it lacks a lot of the stats players would want for endgame use, such as Crushing Blow or being indestructible to be able to use in ethereal bases where it wouldn't have to only be used by a mercenary. Wind Druids could get a lot of use from its focus on reducing an enemy's cold res while using the Hurricane, and if wanting to do melee damage, potentially getting Volcano to proc every now and then. But the selling point is the Holy Freeze aura as melee characters, especially the Fury Druid of the examples mentioned, needs to be up close hitting enemies, so to be able to slow them down helps with survivability, especially since Holy Freeze can even slow down cold immune monsters that don't have their chill set to 0, which are these monsters here. Everyone else can be affected by the aura. Unfortunately, there are other alternatives to using this Runeword to be able to get the benefits this one has, such as using Act 2 Holy Freeze Mercenary and other unique or set items with high enhanced damage to be able to help with more flexibility within the build for both your character and your mercenary. With that said, Doom has to take its place at number 16 on this list. And that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're able to see why I decided to place those particular Runewords at those particular spots on my list. However, I want to make sure to make this very clear. This is completely subjective to my interpretation of these Runewords. You may feel a different way about them, and that is perfectly fine. However, when it comes to this video, I wanted to make sure to cover every single aspect, as well as to be able to actually go over the use of the Runeword, the benefits from the auras, all the different criteria that I use to measure them side by side of one another, and this is just where they happen to land on my list, which again could be completely different for you. So take that as you will, and these again are not bad Runewords, they are just not as good, in my opinion, as the ones I'm going to be covering in the very near future. If you like this kind of content and want to see more, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, be notified whenever a new video comes out. And if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by leaving a like. Also, if you want to see more of my Diablo 2 Resurrected content, there's going to be a playlist in the corner up above you can go click and check out. If you like this video, I'm certain you will like those videos as well. Other than that, hope you're all staying safe, and hopefully you guys will stick around for the next part coming up in the very near future. Take care.